Welcome back to Cobble Chaos, and boy is it hot in this shop. Just wandering around looking and trying to figure out where to begin. I'm already sweating. And that's going to be real fun because I think we are gonna try and get this firewall smoothed up. So I'm gonna make some dust with that. I just kind of want to get it roughed out, and I'm probably just gonna rattle can it semi-gloss black, and that way I can get a motor sitting in this thing. I'm back from my trip in Wyoming, and this car is my main focus. While I'm kind of bouncing around between the Bondo, I'm gonna get this quarter panel patched up. And I don't know, it's been a month or two ago I started making a patch for this quarter panel. So I want to get those two finished up, and that's about it for the metal work on this car. Everything else is solid. But those are our main focus, and then we can start getting the body work done, finish stripping it, and get this thing sealed back up. Let's get going on this thing. So I think first on my list, I'm going to go ahead and just get all this prep, at least this much of it, to get my mud work and stuff done. I did weld up the holes that the old heater and everything was in. I'll probably do vintage air or an aftermarket heater. I'm not real sure, but I've always liked a smooth firewall, so I always kind of want to hide that. Even though this is along my lines of cobbled, I still want it to be nicely cobbled. But anyway, we're going to get the DA out, just feather out anything, and get all this prep so I can put a little bit of mud on here and get this all smoothed up so it'll look good when we paint it. Alrighty, so that's about as much of that as I'm going to prep for now. So there's, I don't know, some of this little area here, some of these little dots, there's a little bit of seam sealing and stuff. I'll get in and clean all that out. You want to just make sure that, whatever's in these little dimples and stuff is prepped or at least cleaned out, and you're not going over something that may release later on. So again, the quality of the job is kind of how much time you put into it. So, and that's kind of, I don't know, what I do. I've built nice cars and everything, but I honestly don't have the patience for it no more. So what I'm doing, I wouldn't call it hack, but it's being realistic. And I mean, this is just kind of stuff that a guy in his garage can do with some basic tools. And I mean, and again, the better the tools, the better the job. But for what I'm doing, I can build a nice quality car for very little money. And I'm not building high-end show cars, but these are cars that you can get to the shows, you can show them, you can be proud of them, and you're not killing yourself or your bank account doing it. So, but for like stripping this, I mean, this is what I call a mud hog, or it's a giant dual action sander. And I mean, it's meant for just moving paint and Bondo and whatever else. But if you don't have the air to run it, I mean, it's useless. So honestly, I do a ton of my stripping. This is an old Harbor Freight, I don't even know if you can read it. I've had this honestly for as cheap as it was. I've had this thing for years, and I have stripped cars. I've buffed cars. I've done a ton with it, but it's I don't know. It's just been a good stripping unit, and I think that thing was like $40. You plug it in. You don't have to worry about airlines freezing, and just for moving paint, it's not something you want to do fine tuning with, but to just get paint out of there or just hog down. And like back here, I mean, this Bondo back here is going to be super thick, and to just get in and hog that out, I mean, your compressor will be running constantly if you're running that mud hog, but that thing will get in. I'm not worried about warping and everything. Everything in here is going to be replaced. So just finding out what's under these panels, and that sander or buffer does very well at it. So again, if you're just in your little 2-car garage in town or whatever, this thing will do the job. So think about that. And like I say, these projects it's realistic. So don't overthink it. Get in, do the best you can, and be proud of what you got. So anyway, I just got to dig out a little bit of stuff around these little areas here, and we're going to put our first coat of Bondo on there. Alrighty, well, I just kind of got down in these little holes and just kind of wobbled around and scuffed them as good as I could. Get as much paint out of them as I could. Some of the little wrinkles that are in where they stamped this out, this little dealie here. Not that I'm really going to do much there, but any of this paint that look questionable, that, you don't want to paint over something that may or may not stick, so you just want to prep it. and it was so thin it was just easier to get rid of it. And then I dug out all the old seam sealer around here. This will all get new seam sealer once we get all this stuff done. So I think right now we're time for everybody's favorite substance, Bondo, or as I like to call it, glob. So I am going to glob up everything on this firewall and let her dry, and while that's happening, I'm going to jump on that back quarter panel. Alrighty, so that's the first little coat I put on there. So I like to just try and keep this as neat and tidy and just kind of work it as I can. When it's this hot, this stuff sets up really quick. So I might start off with as soon as I mix it all up, I'll start off with little detail stuff, doing little areas, but I always leave an area, like if it starts setting up on you, a big area, you can get rid of a lot of it quick so you're not wasting a bunch. So going along here and trying to be nice and clean and tidy, it takes a little bit of time, and the whole time this stuff is setting up. So I did a little bit over here, a little bit over there, started spotting over here, and it was setting up already. So I basically just dumped it onto here. So I'll get that sanded, next coat. I'll continue it, just try and get all this stuff as I can. So, but right now while this is setting up, I'm gonna go strip this back quarter. So this is a prime example why body shops usually lose their butt on quoting a project. So this quarter, I knew it was rusty, it looked bad, I figured it was worse underneath. But back in the day, people used to beat down whatever was rusty and pack it full of Bondo. This is all Bondo. It's not rust. And, well, that might be, yeah, that's a little, no, that's Bondo. So yeah, this whole thing is rotted out. So in your car, you take it in, you see little bubbles and blisters and like, oh, I just need to, replace that quarter size, blister spot. This may be lurking underneath. So when a guy quotes you, I'll do it for $1,000, and you open it up and you get to this, it's considerably worse. So with these old cars, you never know what's lurking underneath. And yeah, Bondo's not bad, but it got a really bad reputation through the 70s, 80s, stuff like that, because I think the saying was something that's like, you could use it, you could make a golf ball sized blob of Bondo, you could pack this in there, and that's what usually people did. Instead of replacing the rust, they'd pack it full of steel wool or whatever, smear a bunch of Bondo in there, sculpt it all out, and it looked great, and it would hold up for probably a couple years. But this is this is what you get later on down the road. So I don't need to strip all this, but I want to, just to see what's under it and kind of show, the extent. This is super thick here. This entire body line down is all mud. So let's open that up and just see what we got lurking in this panel. There's a little bit of damage in through here and stuff, so I'm probably going to end up using the entire panel. I don't usually like to use the whole, I try and keep as much original metal, but I'm thinking probably from the body line down is probably going to get replaced. So, but yeah, let's see what we got hiding underneath this. This is how your quote can quickly get spiraled out of control. So this whole thing is Bondo. I don't know if that'll show the depth of how deep that is right there. It was deeper over here, obviously. This is still Bondo, so this is obviously rusted out all the way here. But when I started, this whole body line down here didn't seem bad. It just seemed like it had some blisters over here. But we're slowly revealing what's under here, and this is what a body shop's got to deal with. I say a lot of people don't understand what's lurking underneath all these old cars and all the old fixes and everything. And again, it was people back then doing what they could. This repair has lasted for who knows how long, and it's just now starting to blister out. So it's not right, but again, if you're budget minded and you don't mind it being on your own car, then I guess do what you got to do. But we are going to put some metal in this. And then another thing about packing it full like this is it traps moisture in between. So now this inner fender, which probably would have already been rusted out anyway to this extent, but yeah, we're gonna have to replace this inner stuff too. So the plot thickens. So I've ground a bit more out. This is not metal. So that is all, I don't know, that's at least a half-inch thick there, and I've gone down at least an inch. So they weren't kidding about the golf ball thing. Yeah, this is, it's stuck to the metal, but, well, that part's metal. So there's a little bit of metal under this. But yeah, there is Bondo abuse. So yeah. But yeah, so we're still digging. We'll find the bottom eventually. I don't think there is a bottom to this. And we are still chasing it. So even back here, yeah, I could probably about, well, there's a bunch of stuff falling out in there, but yeah, so this whole thing, I mean, this is still 3/4 of an inch deep in here compared to what it was. And this part didn't look like it was that bad. Everything was like blistery here. So this is what we're chasing back. Alrighty, so I would be here all day grinding out about 2.5 inch deep Bondo on this thing. So the little blisters we had here have gone to there, all the way across, all the way to the back, and it's obviously here. And there's the back of the quarter. So we're definitely replacing all this. But that's what I say, this whole thing didn't look like it needed it. It looked like it was just right up here, but what lurks beneath. So yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and probably start cutting some spot welds and getting this thing ready to come out of here. Now that I've done this, I'm gonna jump up front and sand that first section of Bondo I did on the firewall. So for this, I'm just getting everything roughed in, and I'm not gonna block it or anything. I'm gonna actually use my buffer and just back and forth and just hold it flat on there. Get all your high spots. It'll show you the highs, lows, everything else. We'll get everything roughed in just by doing this. It's a lot less work, goes a lot faster, and yeah, you'll appreciate it. So so yeah, we'll just slam this thing on here, get this stuff knocked down, blow it all off, and we'll do the next layer. Alrighty, so that's all roughed out, and you'll see there's some lows, a little bit of highs. You can knock these down, whatever. But yeah, so that's just is getting this roughed out. Once we get everything somewhat consistent, I'll throw a block on it, and it shouldn't take too long to get her smooth as I need to get her. Again, if this is going to be a show car, you know, it'd take hours and hours and hours. But for this, it's going to be a nice car, and we're going to do it as quick as we can. Alrighty, so we got that applied. So there's going to be times where, I don't know, it's like you're going to want to spot hit or whatever, and it's kind of better to just keep it consistent. You know, it's like instead, because, you know, you're going to have, if you mud over here and mud over there and you got polka dots all over, sometimes it's easier just to do the whole panel. It'll all sand consistently. You're not getting highs and lows, because if you're sanding metal, if it's got a high spot here and you got Bondo on each side everywhere, you're going to heat that high spot, and what it's going to do, even by hand, it'll create enough heat that it'll keep pushing out, and you'll keep fighting it. So the minute you hit something and you see metal or whatever, tap it down a little bit, you know, but just keep everything a consistent coverage and stuff. Keep it smooth and try and don't make it look like a third grader did it. Some of this stuff along here, like I'll let it set up for a little bit, and then I'll take something and scrape that seam out, keep that seam clean, but you want to get to it before it's hard, or you're gonna really fight getting that out of that seam. So, but it's just trying to be kind of neat and tidy. And if it's a mess, you're gonna work your butt off to sand it. And sanding in this heat with a sweat and everything going on, it isn't fun. So do yourself a favor, just be smooth, consistent. And yeah, I didn't have enough. Some people want to try and stretch and get. I'll do this on another shot. So it's like, yeah, I was hoping to get that in the firewall. But again, with this heat, everything was setting up. I had to do a quick dump, smooth the firewall, and we're setting up now. So patience is key on all of this. Everything with doing cars, it's patience. Anybody with patience, you can do a nice job and make a nice product. So anyway, let's move back to the quarter panel. All right, so I went ahead, stripped this whole upper panel. I just want to see if there's any other damage or anything. There's a few what I call potato eyes, and I usually don't sand those out. You know, I'll leave them to where they're just reminders that they're there. It's got a couple little ripples right through here, but overall the quarter's in pretty good shape, so I can get in and hammer and dolly these out and stuff. But then I'm all clean and ready to go to where I can cut all this panel out and get rid of this whole mess down here. So like I say, the rust, way more than I thought there was going to be. I knew this was full of Bondo, and that's why I ordered that whole panel. But yeah, that's definitely worse than I thought it was going to be. So I am hoping that the front up here is still good, but we're going to find out. So once I get this quarter welded in and everything, and I start doing mud work, then I can start stripping this while my Bondo and stuff's drying over here. So it's just kind of being busy. It's like, you know, instead of sitting around waiting for that to dry, which in this heat, it does not take long at all. So, but while that's drying, I'll jump over and strip this. And I mean, if you can do a panel at a time or whatever, or find something that's quick and easy to do while you're kind of waiting on this, it's just a little more productive. So, yeah, I'm going to go back and sand the firewall and probably put another coat of mud on it. All right, so I got the firewall. I sanded it again. So this isn't really a low spot. It's kind of, the firewall kind of comes down and transitions into this out here. So as I can block that. So I'm smoothing the firewall. I'm not flattening the firewall. I'm just fixing all the little spot welds and just some of the little details that I just like it to be cleaner. So if I wanted this to be flat, the best bet is to pretty much cut all this out, put a nice flat plate in there so that everything's nice and smooth and everything, but I don't want to get that involved. I just want it to look clean. So this spot here, it's a little high, so I'll tap it down, and then yeah, we'll get all this stuff patched up and everything. But it's usually a couple different, you know, layers and sanding it all down. Most of your mud will end up on the floor, but you're going to have mud on here. So the Bondo's not a bad thing. It's just don't abuse it like what the quarter panel is. But I mean, pretty much even some of the best show cars have, you know, layers of Bondo on them. So it's a fine art to be just to be able to do stuff and metal finish everything. And if you do, you have way better budget and you shouldn't be watching this channel. So anyway, let's get back to globbing this firewall. So this is the mess of Bondo I've ground out. Most of your mud's gonna wind up on the floor. So when you do a panel, it might look like there's a bunch on there, but you're gonna sand it all off. Most of it's gonna end up on the floor. You know, you're just basically, you want like a skin coat. You don't want 2.5 inches. So if you do that, you got more work to do. So anyway, I think this is done for tonight. Tomorrow we're gonna get this panel cut out and keep making some forward progress on this thing. So this old Lemans is going to be running here soon, so stay tuned.